consider the following dilemma. There's a runaway train hurtling toward a cluster of people stuck on the tracks ahead. But you have the option to pull a switch that sends the train down another track with a smaller group of people on it. You have the option of saving some lives by sacrificing a smaller number of others. Do you pull the switch? This is a common moral dilemma posed to school children to teach them the basics of human rights, a lesson the majority of humanity seems to have missed. In this article written by Julius Ruschel titled Bystander at the Switch, The Moral Case Against COVID Lockdowns, he explains the supposed moral dilemma was never a dilemma at all. He goes on to say there was only ever one correct choice. We invented universal human rights to make it clear that no person or government has the right to pull the switch to send the train down another track. Consider the following dilemma. There's a runaway train hurtling toward a cluster of people stuck on the tracks ahead. But you have the option to pull a switch that sends the train down another track with a smaller group of people on it. You have the option of saving some lives by sacrificing a smaller number of others. Do you pull the switch?
All right. Well, there you go. We tried. It's definitely not my internet anymore. It's definitely something else. Either I'm getting flooded with bots, or I just got to get a new computer. Anyways, I encourage you to watch that. What's her face? She is fantastic. Her latest video is so bang on, as she normally is. Anyways, how we all doing, patriots and freedom fighters throughout Saskatchewan, across the country, and around the world? Good to see you tonight. We are having technical difficulties with our guests this evening. We're not sure why. It could be associated with the other issue that I'm having. I'm not sure. We're going to try to bring them on. I see that they're in the studio, but they're not visible. So we're going to try it and see if it works. Now, can you guys hear me okay? Can you at least hear what's going on? Okay, so you're hearing me, so that's good. Yeah, and this computer is like not even a year old, maybe just a year old. But it's one of those built-in Acer ones. You know, of course, I thought it was going to be good, had lots of RAM and whatever, but whatever, that could be the issue, or they're hitting me. Who knows? They could be throttling me. But we'll power through. Lots going on, lots of crazy stuff going on, and it just keeps getting crazier. I'm going to see if we can bring our guests in and see if we can hear them, because they have a story to tell that is really an example of the craziness that's going on. Let's see if we can bring them in. Hello, Nick and Brittany.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
We're good. We can't see you, but we can hear you, I think. I'm just going to check with the chat and make sure they're hearing you okay and don't have an echo.
All right.
So say a few things. Tell us who you are.
Okay, so we are Nick and Brittany, and we just had a really terrible experience out in New Brunswick, Canada. where we were arrested for peacefully protesting and then brought to jail. And we were in solitary confinement for 4 days. And it was really, really horrendous. And this was a series of events that started with an assault on us on New Year's Eve,
Okay,
where
so
we were.
just
Okay.
before we get into the whole story, just set the stage a little bit. Tell us where you're from. Did you grow up there? That sort of thing. A little bit of a backstory to who you guys are, just so we can put that into context.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, we grew up in Ontario, Barrie, Ontario area, and we were just looking for a bit of a more peaceful, slow-paced way of life. So we moved out to New Brunswick last summer, and we really enjoyed it here then, and until everything became really tyrannical, and now we're kind of wishing that we went somewhere else instead. But yeah, do you want to say anything, Nick?
Well, when this first started, we've been protesting in New Brunswick since April. So we started the original protest there with a few other people, and so we were really upset to see it fizzle away. But the last protest we went to is when everything went when everything went down, and there might have been like 10 of us at the most. New Brunswick's a very stagnant province, so I didn't want to see the protests ever fizzle away because they might not start up again, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, he just wants the background of our information.
Yeah, and
So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you go.
I think that's pretty much it all for our background.
Yeah, sure. No, that's good. So New Brunswick, yeah, we know that New Brunswick's been pretty quiet through this whole thing, really throughout the East Coast. Where in New Brunswick are you guys?
Right now we're in Bathurst, but when we were protesting the last few months, we were staying in the Shediac area, which is like 20 minutes from Moncton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys went out on New Year's Eve, right?
Yes.
And it was a New Year's Eve protest, and you say there was less than 10 people there. So tell us what happened. What happened at the protest, and sort of what led up to the rest of the story.
Well, the New Year's Eve was actually an incident that we had at a grocery store where we were assaulted for shopping with no masks while we had exemptions. And so that was our first incident with the police. But the protest that just occurred where we were arrested, that was last Sunday, not yesterday, but the Sunday before. Basically, we just went there to educate. We have these info packages that we bring everywhere. We've been trying to get them to the politicians and the police and just whoever will take them. And
Sure.
it's just really good information. It's all verified from doctors and scientists all over the world, just kind of like how the lockdown measures are causing more harm than good, what masks are actually doing to our health, how the PCR test is very inaccurate, and all that sort of thing. So we've just been kind of making our rounds, trying to distribute this material. And that was our main purpose at this last protest, was just to kind of talk to the officers that were there. And we were very peaceful. We just talked to them, and before we knew it, everyone was getting arrested. Well, not everyone, but a few of us got arrested, and it was pretty insane because we were just sitting there talking, like not being aggressive, not yelling at anyone, not being violent in any sense.
Okay, so just for my own clarification, because the way it was relayed to me that you had been put in jail on New Year's Eve and had been in jail ever since. So there's a little bit of a miscommunication, I think.
Oh yeah, no, we've been arrested twice.
Oh, okay, so you were arrested on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But you weren't locked up.
No, I was a holding cell for 12 hours, then we were released. And the second incident, they put us in the holding cell for just over 24 hours, and then we spent another 3 days in actual jail. But with the CV measures, what they do is you basically go in the hole. They put you in the hole for 5 days there, which is basically solitary confinement. You don't even know when you're getting out or anything. It's absolute torture being in there because I mean you're just
Yeah.
confined to yourself, and it plays. You don't even know what time it is, right? You lose all track of time. And the stressful part about being is there. We weren't given it really much information on how long we were going to be there and what's going on with the court days.
Nick, let's back up a little bit because this is just so crazy to me. So you're protesting there last week. Is it Saturday?
It was a Sunday.
It was a Sunday, and
yeah.
What it was is like I told the police officer before we showed up, like John, Britt, and I, we said basically we're not even. John wasn't a part of the protest 100%. Britt and I and someone else came together. We said, yeah, we're just together in our 3 people as a group, and I just have these folders that I've been handing out, and I have videos of me handing them out to police stations and
Politicians.
I don't know, city halls, and they're all. I put the names of all the councilors, the mayors, and then try to get them put in the respective mailboxes. So I just do that on video, and I think that's why I was being targeted, because we have mask exemptions. The police know we do. It's nothing new, and we were targeted because we weren't wearing a mask. I mean, and that's what the media said. It says we're anti-mask protesters when we're just protesting the lockdown measures.
So when they came to you to like, what did they say? What did they communicate to you when they first came up to you guys? And you're standing there, and I assume there was a number of police officers. They come up, and what did they say to you?
They asked Nick what his name was. He was, you were like one of the first to get arrested.
Yes, and
so they asked Nick what his name was, and he said, well, they asked for his ID, and he said, well, I don't carry ID, but my name's Nick DeAngelis. And then an officer kind of snuck up behind him and just started grabbing his arms and saying, Nick DeAngelis, you're under arrest.
Yeah, first he said, he asked me for a medical exemption or whatever, and I said, yeah, I'm medically exempt from wearing a mask, and that's how it originally started. But an officer came up behind me, and then they all just came up behind me and said, you're under arrest. I was just standing there by myself, basically talking to 2 officers about the information packet, and they just arrested me.
Yeah. And then I kind of walked after him as he was getting arrested, and I kept asking them, well, why is he under arrest? Like, what has he done wrong? And I just kept repeating, why is he under arrest? And nobody responded. They didn't say anything. They just completely ignored me.
Okay, so they, I guess at that point, they throw you into either a paddy wagon or the back of a cop car.
Yeah,
and it was a cop car. So did you ask, like, again, of course you're going to ask, like, what are you arresting me for? Where are you taking me? What did they say?
They did.
What did they say to you?
I think they told me, I asked about 5, I don't know, a bunch of times, because I had no idea why I was arrested, but I guess it was ultimately for what it was written down was not wearing a mask, social distancing, and gathering
with more than 5.
I mean, I have a medical exemption, and everyone that was gathering around me would have been the police officers who were already wearing the mask. So if you believe the mask works, they're protected anyways. And I always make that point, but
yeah, well,
I guess it doesn't really.
What they did actually was the Wednesday before the protest, they put us into a red zone, which there's some kind of new rule where you're not allowed to gather with more than 5 people outside. So I think they specifically did that before our protest so that we could get in trouble for gathering with more than 5 people.
So you're in the back of the cop car. I'm shocked at hearing this insanity. But so you're in the back of the cop car, and they're taking you. Are they telling you where they're taking you?
Did they tell you?
No, I thought I was just going to be in and out, just like last time. It blew my mind when we were in the holding cells, and they said that they had something else for us, and that we'd have to go see in front of a judge to make sure. Like, we didn't even know we were going to get let out. They said basically, you're staying here till. We're taking you to jail basically until your your bail, like where you go stand in front of a judge, and we did that. So if the judge would have ruled against us, we'd still be in jail. We're just lucky we got a good judge. The Crown prosecutor wanted us in jail, and all the way to our court, all the way to trial, which is insane.
So they take you to cells, the holding area, and you're there for 24 hours, and then they take you to see the judge, or then they take you to the prison or the jail and they lock you up there, and then you see the judge after that?
Well,
exactly.
we spoke to a judge at the holding cell, but right before we went to the actual jail, and then after we had been at the actual jail until the following Thursday, then we got to speak to a judge again at a bail hearing, and she decided that we would be released.
So when you're at the holding cells, did they give you an opportunity to call a lawyer?
Did they, Nick?
I didn't.
You didn't get?
I didn't. No, I didn't call a lawyer, but maybe I could have. I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about it. Like, I specifically asked to speak to a lawyer, but I don't think Nick did, and he didn't get the opportunity to. And my lawyer didn't. I had a duty counsel lawyer, and they didn't really do much for me.
Right. So okay, so they take you to the jail and book you in, and to this point, they've yet to really tell you what they're detaining you for. They really have no reason, right? Like, they didn't tell you anything.
No, not really until we spoke to the judge and the Crown prosecutor on the phone. And actually, it took the Crown prosecutor a really long time to even figure out what we had done, because I think originally someone wrote down that we weren't wearing masks, and then he wanted to change that, probably because he knew that we were exempt and that we could prove that. And so on my phone call, which was before Nick's, he couldn't figure out what we even did, and he sat there for 5 minutes flipping through pages trying to figure out what the charge actually is. And the judge was getting pretty irritated, and she said, well, you better hurry up, you've only got 5 minutes, or I'm gonna basically like throw this out. And they had to actually hang up the phone so he could go figure out what I did wrong, what we did wrong, and then call back like 10 minutes later finally with what we actually did.
And so what was it? What did they use for the excuse?
Gathering with more than 5 people outdoors was the reason for the fine. And I personally was given an extra charge too. They gave me a obstruction of an officer charge, because I told the officer that I was exempt as he was putting me in the cop car, and he told me, well, I'm going to charge you with obstruction now, which is just completely ridiculous.
And the part that really baffles me is, while we were in there on the day I got released, they added more charges on me under some emergency measures thing that I don't even really understand how they could do it while I was in there. So they went back in the past and found out that I went to no frills, which is true. I went to no frills twice within the last few weeks to a month. And so they went back in the past and basically saw that I wasn't wearing a mask inside the store, but I never have run-ins with no police or anything. And I have a medical exemption. I even showed it to them in no frills, so it wasn't even a red zone or anything, which shouldn't even matter at that time. But so they went back, and it just boggles my mind how they can do that legally. Just now they can like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
That's why I'm asking you to just be very specific about things, because none of this makes any sense according to the law.
No, it really seems like they're allowed to just get away with whatever they want right now. Like, all our rights are kind of just being stripped away, and it's like all up in the air, and it's really scary.
I mean, I'm terrified how they're doing it out in the open. Like, I know other police officers that have seen the footage, and they were disgusted with the police officers' actions.
And this was RCMP?
Yes, this was RCMP, and everyone I know who saw the footage is just like
disgusted.
This is literally mind baffled and disgusted. It was ridiculous. The arrest. It was. Oh, I can't. What happened?
Do you guys have that footage posted anywhere?
I do. Yeah, I can send it to. I have a Facebook video I can send, and then there's a YouTube video I can send as well.
Yeah, send it over to me, because I want to see if I can play it. I haven't having good luck because something's going on with my system here, but I'd like to play it. If you can send it to me, that'd be great.
Okay.
Are we friends on Facebook?
What's your Facebook?
Just Mark Friesen.
Okay. I'll try and add you 1 sec.
Okay.
Sure.
Can you? Yeah, you do it here.
There's my
Okay.
bad friend here.
I'll try.
We're gonna send it.
I'll try and do
Yeah,
that.
send that over, and we'll
And it
try
was-
and
And
play it.
while the interesting thing is because with all these folders, I really just anyone who wants them, I just give them to them. And a few officers have already taken these folders from me. They were actually interested in them, and which is pretty rare. But when I was in the correction, or in the jail, they're all correctional officers in there, and they're trying to correct my behavior, and everything they said, I was correcting them because I didn't do anything wrong. And by the time I left, there was the one officer's like, "Well, did you learn anything?" Because they're playing pretend, right? A few of the officers I knew that that I was innocent. They didn't actually know this whole thing was a scam. Two officers confirmed it with me in there. So even on the way out, the guy who knew it was a scam, he's just like, "Oh, did you learn anything?" Like being all tough on me and within 20 minutes, I had him saying, "Yeah, we're not stupid. We know this is a scam. The hospitals are empty." And I basically confirmed. I showed him the stats. I mean, there was 13 deaths in the entire province when I was arrested. Like that's for the whole 11 months. And I showed him the ages of each one and how they all had other comorbidities. And I broke down the flu stats and everything. They're like, yeah, he basically admitted it, and they said they don't know what to do. And it just blows my mind. So they know a lot of these officers know that there's no data to support an emergency, and we were there, and it was just an awkward experience because it just blew my mind.
Yeah, it blows my mind too. I spent 25 years as a corrections officer. And so I get it. I know what you guys went through. I understand where you guys were, and to be sitting in the hole is a disgusting, horrible experience, especially if you're not a criminal and you're not used to that system. It blows me away that like they have no reason to detain you. Other than, I guess, they could probably make an argument that you're somehow a danger to the public. But of course you're not sick, and you're healthy, and you're not spreading anything. And that's extremely weak, but I'm trying to wrap my head around how they justify this. And as we've seen across the country, they're not really using any legitimate justification for anything that they're doing. But to take it to this degree is just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was really traumatic. I never ever want to go back to jail again, and I hope that I never have to.
Honestly, for me, with the emergency measures in place now in the jail, it's just scary, because if anyone ever even gets sick in jail, and they could literally just say, okay, you have to take the PCR test, and if you refuse, then you're in the hole for 14 days. So it's a whole other scenario. And I'm a healthy person and I eat healthy, so I didn't even want to eat the food there because my body's not used to that type of food, so I didn't want to get sick there. So I barely ate a thing when I was there, right? I mean, you get medical screened every day in there. If someone's sick in jail, it's not going to be fun for anyone in jail. They're gonna probably ask every member in jail to do the PCR test, right? That gives them the ground to do that. And anyone who refuses, you're in the hole. So it's not even the same as before. It's actually a lot worse. And I don't want to ever go back, but I still want to. So I guess I'm not going to protest for a while. I'm just staying low and just handing out the folders, because that was traumatic enough if they could arrest me for nothing. I mean, I don't really see myself going back to a protest until there's a lot more people.
Yeah, and that's there you go. That's exactly why they did what they did, because they need to instill fear, not only in you, but in everybody in your group, right? And so this is, and obviously they're looking at it like you're the sacrificial lamb. Yes, they are wrong. Yes, you can probably sue their ass off. But by the time that runs its course, they've already achieved their goal of instilling the fear, right? So this is how it's lawfare, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're just trying to silence people, and I think we were like the prime targets because we've been protesting pretty consistently. And we were at Higgs, the premier's house. We went there for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and he really didn't like that. And you know, we've
Okay,
never.
well, okay, that tells me more. This is obviously a response to that. I'm suggesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've never had to identify ourselves once because after the first incident, they just stole our IDs and against our will, and they've taken pictures of us. They've been building an investigation against us for a long time, so we've just never had to give our names. They just always know who we are.
So I'm going to run this video here shortly, but have you guys contacted a lawyer, or have you contacted the Justice Center, or have you contacted Rebel Media?
So I contacted Rebel News after the first incident that we had with the police, and they are going to help us. But now, because things are so complicated and like there's just so much going on, I think they still can help us. I'm just gonna get confirmation on that. They're just working on finding a criminal lawyer for us here in New Brunswick, and I have been talking to the Justice Center a little bit too, but they don't really handle criminal cases. And right now, we just need a criminal lawyer.
So the last I heard out of the Justice Center is they've hired a couple of criminal lawyers because so many of these things have now evolved into, you know, sort of a criminal case. So they've hired some criminal lawyers. So
Okay.
I would try them again. But you know, I mean, as long as you guys are getting some sort of representation here, I mean, this is
Yep.
just insane. I'm just going to play this video here. Hopefully, it'll work for us and
Yeah, go for it. It's a good one.
have a look.
They're just order followers. Here's what the government does. They give you tickets to what? It's all you've ever done your whole life. You just give out tickets so people can work in that enslavement system. Okay? You know, God sent his people here, and the devil sent his people here too. And now that we got this going on, we know who's who.
And that's who they're controlled by, the devil.
Yeah. These people are totally controlled by the devil. They don't even know how duped they've been. You're right. They'll find out. Yep. They'll find out. Oh, yeah. All we want to do is be free, man. Yep. But you don't seem to care about my freedom. Your kids will be slaves. That means that you're a police officer, right? You follow policies, and you should know why you're following the policies. You're morally responsible for what you're doing. And as I could prove to anyone in court, that's why I don't fear this, because in court, you have to be able to prove there's an emergency, and I have all the scientific documents to prove that there is no emergency. I understand that. But I'm just saying, when the right time comes, do the morally right thing. Look at the science, and you're gonna have to lay down your badge. Unfortunately, my friend, I do actually want to come with you. I am not resisting. I am not resisting. You got it wrong. You got it wrong, sir.
The streets are safer now. Look at that. Our CFP doing a valiant job of keeping the streets safe.
Hey, John, you take the key in my pocket.
That stuff was happening in Nazi Germany too, you know.
Oh, another one being arrested. What a shame.
This is how it happened in Nazi Germany, boys. Let's have a look.
So, my goal isn't to get all angry and aggressive. My goal is to educate you, and it's not working, but like I said, go home, look into some of the things I told you. Hey, Nick, do you have any papers to give this guy? Me and Nick are here to educate. We're not here to cause disruption. Well, unfortunately, with the government decision to go, do you have anything to do? We'd love for you to read this and just on your own time. We worked really hard. I just went over a lot of stuff. The U.S. mistake. It has court rulings, video confessions, and everything. And we promise you, if you guys like
have a better understanding with knowledge, we all will prosper in the end.
Look at what happened with Italy. 50,000 businesses opened up. The government couldn't do anything.
I'm going to take it later. What about that? Okay, yeah, thank you very much. We're getting this out to everyone.
Unfortunately, guys, but I want you guys to understand today is that the government has decided to go back to the rate phase, which doesn't change your guys' opinion or ours' opinion. But there is no red phase because there has to. If you look at the rules, there has to be the hospitals have to be overwhelmed. There has to be an emergency. There is no emergency. Well, they have to. So it's illegal. No, it's illegal. What they're doing is illegal, and I will always stand up for what's true and fall and do the sign. Do you understand? They had a conversation. You're kind of going away from that conversation that we had that was based on science and that was based on. And what I'm telling you is that the laws that they're enforcing right now are based on the fact that the hospitals are overwhelmed and there's an emergency. No, those two things, yes, they are. It's based on the fact that we're masks. Yeah. What's it? Based on the fact that we're masks. Wear a mask. First of all, I have a medical exemption. Second of all, okay. Okay, where's it? Can you have a proof? It's in my car, yeah. But actually, I have a digital version. Please provide it right away. If not, you'll be issued a ticket for violating the emergency measure. Well, actually, you can't. I'm going to do it just for your benefit, but actually, you can't do that.
What is the purpose for people having to wear a mask?
Just so you know, I have 100 studies here that show masks actually don't do anything. Of the Emergency Measure Act, so we'll be giving you a ticket. Please provide a piece of ID for me to do that.
Because there's no emergency, because 13 deaths in province of 800.
Please provide a piece of ID so I can write you the ticket.
Nick the Angus, I don't have ID on me. I don't carry ID on me. Okay. I've had millions of tickets. I don't know how many tickets I've had of these. Yeah. Nick the Angus, here's my yeah.
There you go. More tyranny.
Brett!
More tyranny. I'll get out. Brittany! 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 Brittany, he's calling you. Nick is calling you. No,
lawsuit. You have a lawsuit on your hands, people.
I don't know why they're arresting.
He was just talking to him. That's all he was doing, just talking.
Guys, what are you doing?
Why?
Guys, he's peaceful.
I'm peaceful. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Guys, why are you arresting him? Guys, why are you arresting him?
I have medical insurance.
Excuse me. Why are you arresting him? It's unlawful.
Oh, no. The badge number? 23? Is it 23? Is that a picture? Oh, okay.
You guys do know it's against the law, don't you?
Here we're about the gathering, right? You just arrested someone for
failing to comply with the emergency measures.
What do you
the act
mean?
in itself. So there's several conditions.
How is he?
Okay. So, do you have a piece of ID on you, sir?
No, I do not.
Okay. Have you identified yourself as a police officer?
I'm not doing anything illegal. So
okay. Are you going to identify yourself so we can issue you a ticket?
In order to make sure you get this on recording.
Yeah.
The only way I have to identify myself is if I'm committing a crime.
Okay. So we're advising you that you're committing an offense under the emergency.
What offense?
So you're taking part in a gathering above 5 people?
Actually, you guys are the ones gathering with me right now.
So this whole
I'm not.
No.
Yeah. I'm a person on the street. You actually.
I've been counting. There's, and he's seen me counting. There's never been more than 5 here.
This is more than 5 people. You're under arrest. All right.
Yeah. So are you going to identify yourself?
identify yourself? You're under arrest. You're breaking your own law right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get away from me. 6-foot rule. Get away from me.
We're gonna arrest him.
No, we're not.
Stay back.
You guys should be ashamed. This is ridiculous. What did I do? Don't move. Fucking bastards! Help me, guys! Hey, told you not to move. That's an action not to move. Oh, we're tough now. You guys are fucking pussies. Look at this. Oh, this is going on Canadian. All across Canada. Look at this. What is wrong with you fuckers?
Wow. This man here was just talking peacefully. He was giving the facts. And the officer there with the coon cap, or whatever you want to call it there, he just arrested somebody earlier.
Brittany, take dude's key.
You guys have work. Pile on. You can't handle it. Let's go. Pile on. Let's pile on.
You guys are going to get charged, Chris. I hope you know.
Need 5 more.
I'll stand up with my...
Get the rest of your gang. You can't handle it. Did you get him? You're a coward. I already got one. You fucking coward. You fucking coward.
Wow.
Look at the cop has no mask on over there. Let's get him. Let's get him. Well, might be embarrassed too. Where's it on the outside? Oh, there he is. On the outside. I was going to tell you, if I was walking around the neighborhood with no name tag on, I would have been fucking jacked up. I would have been. You had to walk around with no name tag on. Why are you going to take it off the outside, put it on the earth? They're embarrassed. I'd be fucking embarrassed. He said he didn't believe in my son. No, he doesn't. No, he didn't believe in the truth. And we know they don't believe in the truth.
Absolutely disgusting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's just it's embarrassing. It's disgusting. I mean, find an adjective to explain that. It's just.
Well,
I know, it's crazy.
all I was doing was handing out those folders, and that's why I believe I was targeted. Like, I mean, I wasn't doing anything else. I was thanking the officer for accepting the information. I was ecstatic because some of the officers were actually accepting the information. I mean, 2 officers did, and then only for the 1 officer to ultimately arrest me. And I don't know. I had no idea I would be actually going to jail. Just for that. If I would have known that I would have been arrested, I would have never went. Ever.
Like, you didn't have any, as far as what we saw there right now, it's disgusting, it's embarrassing, but like, you didn't have any other warrant, you didn't have any other reason for them to keep you in and put you in jail, did you?
No.
Nothing like that.
No, it's just a previous incident that we're not found guilty of, because we haven't even been to trial for that. And that was even more ridiculous.
Yeah, the
first one was more ridiculous because all I was doing is shopping, and someone called the police on us. And when he showed up, Brittany showed him the officer our medical exemptions. He said, "Well, let's see if what the government says about those," and took our exemptions for a little bit. And then ultimately I was filming and I said, "Not wearing a mask is not a crime." and they all, like 4 or 5, how many? 5 or 6 maybe?
Like 5 officers threw Nick to the ground, like violently threw him to the ground, ripped his hair out of his head, whipped his phone out of his hand. It was nuts.
And then I still haven't got my phone back, so I canceled it.
Yeah.
They just kept my phone. They haven't even gave me a search warrant. And
yeah,
I mean, there's.
Yeah, so we've been through the ringer.
I can't hear.
Oh crap!
Sorry, I was muted there. You're obviously not, your regular type of criminal. You don't have a history. Tell me a little bit, Brittany and Nick, of your experience in jail and actually being in the digger in the hole.
It was pretty brutal. Like I felt hopeless actually at times. Like I went in and out of feeling like hopeful, like it might be okay, and like how on earth are they going to justify keeping me here longer? But then sometimes I would feel like, well, like the world's gone crazy, and what if I have to stay here? And I would feel like I was going to be sick. Like I would have panic attacks. I wasn't able to eat anything. What about you, Nick?
Well, it was terrible. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the worst experiences
of your life,
of my life, because I had no idea how long I was going to be there. It was just very, very confusing. It was almost like you're in a bad dream, because you're completely innocent. All you're trying to do is help, and you're put in that situation, and it makes it very surreal. Like I would scream under the door just to hear my friend down the hallway. Like you put your side of your head on the floor, and you just put your ear by the door just so you can hear them faintly. And every now and then it's just, "Are you all right, buddy?" And then that's about it. I mean, once you're in the hole, it's a matter how strong you are mentally, right? It's especially if you're very active. I'm a very active person. I have a lot of energy, so I was pacing around, like just circling. It's enough to make you go insane, and that was only a few days. Had I ended up going to jail over this, I'm pretty sure my mental health would be greatly declined. So I just thank the judge who let me out, because ultimately it came down to the judge.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Actually, the Crown prosecutor that was sitting in court tried to make us just look awful. He said that we were a danger to society, and like that's why he didn't want us to be released. He wanted to keep us there longer, and if it wasn't for the judge, we would have been there longer. She said, "I don't see any reason to keep them," and she actually kind of got irritated at the Crown at one point because he just kind of kept trying to make us look bad. And she said, "Well, no, you've already had your time to speak," and that was it.
I mean, the fact that they're putting New Brunswick in a red zone after 13 deaths since this began, it baffles my mind. And the only reason Britt and I have been targeted, my friend, is because since the mask mandates became a thing, like this was many months ago, I've only seen 3 other people in the entire province not wear a mask inside the stores. We've been to grocery stores, malls, and we're always the only ones. Like when you're in a mall, you're the only ones without a mask. And then sure enough, we've had the police called on us many, many times, 5, 6, 7 times where they're actually showing up. And every other time they're better off, but then they just became completely resistant to the fact that we have medical exemptions. It's just like they don't even matter here anymore.
Right.
And we've been.
So are you guys obviously you'll be talking to Rebel and JCCF. Have you guys started a GoFundMe at all?
We did. We started a GoFundMe a little while back, but something happened to it. I don't know what, but for some reason there were some people that weren't able to donate. Like they would donate, and then the money would just go right back into their bank account. So we ended up just we switched to a different one. We're using a Plum Fund now instead, and we're just we just started accepting e-transfers because it was easier.
And whoever made the GoFundMe for us can't access the money right now. It's under review, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But the problem is with all of this, if we just beat the charges, it means nothing. It doesn't set a precedence for anything because it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
We have to counter with something. We have to sue, and because they're attacking our lives personally, they're putting our lives through hell, and we have to do something.
So I just want to, on that note, I just want to read you a headline out of Saskatchewan, because there's been a bunch of us get fines here. I've had 4.
Okay.
Sort of leading the pack here in Saskatchewan. But the headline in our local newspaper here says 10 pandemic charges in Sask withdrawn. Because they don't have a leg to stand on. They're not worth the paper they're written on. And in my opinion, I would suggest most of these tickets, even what you guys have the fines that you've been given or whatever, will not withstand a charter challenge. I can't see how. The government cannot prove that the measures they're taking are appropriate for the circumstance. According to our charter, they have to demonstrably prove that the measures are appropriate, and they can't do that. And the evidence is against them, and they know that. So I think in the end, none of these are even going to see the light of day in court. But as you said, the problem is there needs to be accountability. They need to be sued. And so, yeah, I mean, as much as I can encourage you guys to definitely, try to raise some funds to get a lawyer, because I don't think the Rebel or JCCF are going to take on any lawsuits in that regard. This is all in defense. So, a bunch of people aren't going to have to pay for these fines, but at the same time, go forward with a GoFundMe or whatever, a plum fund, and try to get a war chest and hire a lawyer to sue these guys. And it has to happen across the board. Obviously I'm looking into it. So are a number of others. We just had our premier call us all a bunch of idiots. And then the next thing you know, we see that they're dropping cases left and right. But he called us a bunch of idiots because we protest and we do what we do. And in the one occasion, 9 people went on the street legally, and the cops didn't charge them with anything because they couldn't. There's nothing to charge them with. But they went in front of our chief health officer's house and protested there. Of course, again, they didn't break any laws. But then the premier responded and called them all a bunch of idiots. And pulled the emotional card and, oh, this is this person's home and it's just not what we do. Well, what about the people that are getting charged $2,800 a piece? Police coming to their house to issue them tickets. What about all that harassment? What about breaking the law in doing all of this action? Because it all goes against the charter, and they know it. So these people have to be held accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The more people that set the wheels in motion for lawsuits, the better off we are.
Yeah.
So we can't just sit back and not do anything. As much as I hate court, I have no choice.
Yeah.
Or else all this is for nothing.
We all have to do this across the board, because again, there has to be accountability. We have, what skin is it off of theirs if it doesn't go to court? They don't care. They're not doing it to get you off the street. They're not doing it for any legitimate reason. They're doing it simply to instill fear in the rest of the population so they'll all comply. And this is all part of a bigger agenda.
Yeah, definitely. And it's working beautifully. It really is. Even with us, we're so traumatized from our experience that we're like, oh my God, like we need to just lay low and, we'll fight in other ways, but we're trying not to be so outspoken and so public about things because we're scared of going back to jail.
And that's precisely why they did it. Like I said earlier, it's all about fear. It's insanity, and it needs to stop. And again, we have to come up with our own lawsuits, and we have to hold them accountable. We absolutely have to. So
definitely,
good for you guys. Keep plugging on, keep plugging away. I know it's a horrible experience, but I guess you're free now. And yeah, I mean, I would probably stay away from protests for a little while.
Yeah.
And do what you can outside of that. I mean, I hate to say it because it's insane. But at the same time, you guys don't want to have to go through that experience again.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
I'm just gonna take a little bit of time off, and I'm still gonna hand out my folders by myself. I mean, it's all I'm gonna do from now on, because in folders, it's like a kryptonite, right? There's a concerted effort to not look at these folders, and the police don't want to look at it for a reason. The counselors don't want to look at it for a reason, because no one wants to take moral responsibility for their own actions, and that's the problem with this.
Yeah,
Everyone's
absolutely.
off. I mean, people have to be morally responsible for their own actions, right? I mean, we're talking. If you're not, I mean, that means you're just a bad person.
Yeah, it's insane. Hey, so where can folks go to help you guys out with this fund? You said you had a plum fund. Is there a website or something?
Yeah, I can. What is it? Do you have it, Nick? I can send it to you. I don't know exactly what it is off by heart. But I'm also accepting.
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, yeah, I'll send you that, and then we're also accepting e-transfers if that's easier, and my email is britgreen35@gmail.com. Okay.
Sorry, PRIT.
BRIT. Yeah.
Okay. Brit Green
35.
35. Yeah. At
gmail.com.
all right. I just posted in the chat. So
thank you very much.
Oh, hang on. That didn't work out very well.
Let me see it. I'll try and find the plum.
Yeah, okay. So disregard that first one, you guys. It's the second email I just posted, britgreen35@gmail.com. So if you want to help these folks out in putting together a little bit of a legal defense fund and start the ball rolling on the lawsuit, it's just insane. And I guess people can reach you at that email address too, hey?
Yeah. If anyone wants to chat, I'm there.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So, yeah, well, thanks for coming by and telling us absolutely horrendous story. But it's a story that needs to be told. And there's so many other stories like this happening right now across the country. So, good luck to you guys and keep us posted, would you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for everything you do.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll talk to you soon. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
thanks.
All right, guys.
Very much.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, they sound like real hardcore criminals, hey? Oh man, it just burns my ass. I don't know. I'm just the last few days I've just I didn't go online the last couple nights, Saturday night or last night, because I'm sick. I'm sick to death of all this shit that's happening, and I don't want to lose my marbles online. And I felt like if I went live Saturday or Sunday, I would absolutely lose my shit and say things I shouldn't say. But I don't know. This is just this isn't Canada anymore. I'll tell you that much. This is what we grew up to fear when we were taught about the Stasi in East Germany, and we were taught about the Soviets in Russia, and we were taught about the Nazis in Germany. They're not putting people on train cars, but they're scooping them up at airports and taking them to government facilities, which are now old hotels, I guess, that the economy that they destroyed has sacrificed. here we are. We're in it. And people better wake up damn fast, and all of them. And if anybody's out there that hasn't gotten involved or thinks it doesn't affect them, you got another thing coming. It'll affect you. They'll come for you. They're coming for everybody. Anybody that stands up, anybody that doesn't comply, that doesn't submit to tyranny, is on the bubble. Your turn is next. I'm really disgusted, to be honest. I'm really disgusted with Canadians. I am, and I have to be honest. I'm disgusted. People defending these things. People openly and publicly cheering it on. It makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. For a virus that has 99.7, 99.9% recovery, for a flu, I keep in contact. Before I finish my thought, I interrupted it with another thought. I keep in contact with a number of doctors that still won't go public, but one of them sent me over some information the other day. I posted on my Facebook. You guys probably seen it, or some of you probably have, and Twitter. But here's an example. Alberta, they claim, and these are Alberta health numbers. So bear with me, take them for whatever way you want. But using their numbers, they have tested 1.7 million people, they claim. My guess is a lot of these people are tested 2, 3, and 4 times. But anyways, 1.7 million people have been tested. They admit to 4% false positive, which, if the government says 4, it's at least double or triple that. At least. And if you read some studies, peer-reviewed studies with scientists, if your CT value on a PCR test is over 33 or 35 or 40, which is insane, the chance of a false positive increases, just as the World Health Organization finally admitted, to 97% false positives. 97%. So I don't know what their CT value is in Alberta. I'm guessing probably around 36, 37 would be my guess. I don't know. They're claiming 4%. So let's take their word for it. Let's just use their number just for argument's sake. 1.7 million people have been tested. 4% false positive using their numbers equals 68,000 false positives. Out of all the people that tested positive, 120,000 cases, that's more than 50%. They're basing all the actions they're taking on the 120,000 people that they claim were positive. More than half, 68,000, 4% of all the people tested were false positives. But yet they base all of these actions on those numbers. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, all of this, and they know all of this. They all know this. They're all either blackmailed, extorted, or bought off to continue to do what they're doing. And that's across the board. So I don't know. I don't have any direct evidence, but that's the only thing that explains this. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Because who in the right mind would do this to the people they're elected to represent? And they're doing it because the majority still gives them the public opinion to do it. And they're getting away with it. But I mean, look at Kenny. When all these restaurants finally grew some balls and said, you know what, we're opening. We don't care anymore. and there's lots of them, and the number is growing, and it needs to grow across the country, not just Alberta. And how does Kenny respond? He's angry. He's angry because the people actually told him, go fuck yourself. And of course, how does he respond? He doesn't respond like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. We were wrong. No, he gets angry because the people took the power away from the douchebag. I'm telling you, this ends as soon as we say it ends. But somehow we have to figure out how to get the message, how to get the information to the people. Just even the example I just used. Any reasonable, self-respecting human being would look at that and say, yeah, wait a minute, what are we doing? So yeah, Kenny tried to make it look like his idea. Yeah, he's just, he's one of the worst ones, to be honest with you. He knows exactly what's going on. Mo in Saskatchewan, he's in over his head. I'm convinced he has absolutely no idea. He's just following orders. Kenny, on the other hand, knows exactly what's happening. Kenny's been to the Bilderberg. Kenny understands the globalist agenda. Kenny understands the Great Reset that he tried to pull himself out of bullshit again. But it's across the board. So it's either they're getting paid off, they're extorted, or blackmailed. That's the only thing, because all of the information that we all have puts all of this to shame. It ends it. Seriously, none of these people have been scrutinized. None of their narrative has been scrutinized. None of them have been put on any sort of public forum to justify their actions based on all of the numbers. And they don't talk about the numbers. The only numbers they talk about is the ones that they can garner from a bullshit PCR test. That's it. That's the only thing they can do. But when you put it up against other evidence, it doesn't hold any water. And none of them have been called on it. None of them have had to prove any of it to anybody while they stomp on our charter rights, while they stomp on our inalienable rights. It's like I mentioned in this article in the Saskatoon Star Phoenix, 10 pandemic charges in Saskatchewan withdrawn. Well, of course they're withdrawn, because they ain't worth the paper they're written on. I haven't had a ticket since before New Year's. And I find that interesting. And it makes me wonder what's going on behind closed doors. Tamara got one on Saturday in Regina. There was only one issued. I have 4 of them already. Saskatoon, we've had 2 events there, New Year's Eve and then another one after. No tickets were issued. And who knows, maybe they're still investigating. But I have a sneaking suspicion that somebody a little higher up in the food chain, at least in regards to the courts in Saskatchewan, has basically told them these are dog shit, they're losers. And when an article comes out in the Star Phoenix, and it just came out like about an hour ago, maybe a little longer, 2 hours ago, saying that charges are withdrawn, I'm thinking something's going on, because they haven't given me a ticket in, like I said, in a month. And I shouldn't say that, I got one in Moose Jaw. Yeah. But the Saskatoon police it seems they've backed off. And I'm not sure, but I'd like to be a fly in the wall in that office, because something's going on. But I mean, none of this surprises me that they're withdrawing 10 tickets. They're dog shit. They'll never see the light of day. And I didn't think they would, because you can't win. They're losers. They're hardcore losers. And if they are, which we knew they were, what the hell are the police doing? Like, leading up to this, a lot of the police were saying, we're just doing our job. We're just doing what we're told. And I would ask, so what happens when you're showing that you're breaking the law? What happens when it's proven that what you're doing is against the law and against the oath that you've taken? What then? Well, I guess, and one comment was, well, I guess we'll stop. Well, okay, so it's time to stop. It's time to pull back. It's time to not break your oaths. It's time to not break the law in uniform, and constitution that you're supposed to be in position to defend and serve the people, and the rights afforded to them, not only by constitution but inalienable. It's time to defend those people. It's time to defend the people you were hired to serve, the ones that you gave the oath to. Because you didn't give it to your boss. You didn't give it to the mayor. You didn't give it to any judge. Your oath is to the people and the Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that you swore to uphold. So do your job. If the oath means anything to you, do your job. Defend it. Uphold that charter. And this goes for cops across the board. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I tell you, if I was still in the service, I would be leading the charge. I'd be leading the charge. And again, it's not, mine was in corrections, but still a peace officer. It's insane. And more of you guys, gals in uniform, sign up with On Guard, Police On Guard. Sign up to that group. They have a constitutional lawyer. They've hired Rocco Galati. They're going to support you if you stand up for what's right. And you all know what's right. You damn well better. You shouldn't be wearing that thing. You shouldn't be in the business if you don't know right from wrong. And what you've been doing to this point is wrong. Flat out wrong. It's disgusting. And listen, the more I talk about the Nuremberg trials, the more it is appropriate to talk about the Nuremberg trials. When we're seeing what we're seeing being done to our fellow citizens, to fellow Canadians who are just flying home from wherever they were, and they get to the airport and there's a group of people who won't identify themselves and they wrap you up and take you away. I'm telling you, if somebody comes up to me, 1, 2, 3, or 5, it doesn't matter, and they don't identify themselves and they say they're taking me away, I hope you brought your fight with you. It's insane. And then we lock them up. We detain them. You don't have grounds to detain anybody, especially when they're not sick. But even if they were sick, to go home. Seriously, folks, you got to understand this is a much bigger agenda at play. This isn't about a virus. This isn't about a virus that has a 99.9% recovery rate. This isn't about a virus that is deriving numbers at a BS PCR test. You have to understand that this is part of a much bigger agenda. And they're telling us what the agenda is. They're telling us. The Great Reset is telling us. The meeting they just had in Davos, they're telling us. The UN is telling us. They've all told us. Been telling us for years. They're conditioning you. They're socially engineering us. That's what all this is about. And to the police, you're the linchpin in that. It's time you guys get together and decide that this no longer happens. They can't fire y'all. If this was about a wage dispute or this was about working conditions, you guys would all band together. You guys would all be together to give yourselves some power, some leverage. When are you guys all going to come together to defend your fellow citizens, to defend the oath that you took? When are you going to come together for that purpose of doing what's right? When are you going to do that? We're counting on it. We need you. We need you to do this. We need you to band together for what's right. And tell whoever is telling you guys to break the law to go pound sand. Enough's enough. I just watched the video. The police in the Netherlands, or was it Denmark? It was one of the two places, where they all took their helmets off and they joined the protesters because enough's enough. Because they know what's right. They know why they wear that uniform. To protect the people, not the politicians. So it's time. It's way past time. Band together. Do what's right. This is getting out of control. Yeah, Vienna, Austria. That's right. Thank you for that. Yeah. But we've seen it in other places too. I don't know what else to say. I'm so thoroughly disgusted. And I have been for a number of days. Was that you that highlighted the comment? No, Rio. Was that you that highlighted the comment? Oh yeah, I highlighted a comment back a while back. Yeah, you bet. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking to my producer Rio. But yeah, so anyways, just before I let you guys go, Saskatoon next week. So a bunch of us got together while we are enjoying a meal together in Regina after our protest. And a few of us have been talking about it before, but so this upcoming weekend, we're struggling to get numbers, which also pisses me off to no end. Some of it's due to the weather, which should have absolutely nothing to do with it. Put some warm clothes on and get out there. Some of it has to do, I think, with Mo calling everybody idiots and the whole province banding together to support Shahab. Give me a break. Anyway, so I think we had 100 people in Regina the other day. Some thought, yeah, it's okay, and whatever. Depends how you look at it, how you twist it. But I was disgusted. Really, 100 people. That's all we could muster. But anyway, so we thought, you know what? Next weekend, let's do a convoy. Let's put together a convoy in Saskatoon. We're going to meet at the Credit Union Center parking lot. Get all our flags up, signs, you name it. Do what we do. Come together, meet there, and do a convoy. We'll have a route picked out throughout the city. That way, anybody that wants to be part of this but is scared to go, I don't know, or it's too cold, or they're too tired, or whatever, there's no excuse. You're in your car. You're separated from anybody. They can't give us fines for driving around in a car. But we can show that there's a ton of support for what we're doing. So we're calling it the Convoy for Kids. And our focus this week is going to be about the kids. About the kids having to wear a mask all day long in school, not being able to take part in any extracurricular activities. They're not allowed to have any fun with their friends. They're not allowed to go play hockey. They're not allowed to play any sports. All the things that makes childhood fun And I keep getting emails from people telling me their stories about their kid being stuck at home and being depressed. And I mean, we all know what kids are like. We all know, it doesn't take a lot to push them in one direction or another. When they're stuck at home and they got no options, they can't see their friends, they can't socialize, they can't go to their buddy's place. It's got to stop. Suicides are going through the roof. Alcoholism's going through the roof. Opioid crisis, drug abuse going through the roof. Domestic abuse going through the roof. We're destroying our society. We're destroying our everything. And it's, when you look at our kids, our poor kids, they're completely stuck in all this crap. Just end it. Get them back to doing what they're supposed to be doing. What are we doing? So that's what the convoy for kids, hashtag convoy for kids. Anybody across the country, we did this last weekend was PCR. This upcoming weekend, let's do a convoy for kids. Put everyone together, set up a route in your city or town, or maybe from one town to the next town or something. Bring people together. Let's do this. Let's make it big. Let's make it massive. Let's make it have a serious effect and impact so people have to pay attention. Again, they can't fine you for anything. We're not killing grandma. We're not doing anything like that. This is all, but at least we can get some attention, and we can show that there's a lot of support for what we're doing. And so in my opinion, this one in Saskatoon and wherever else you guys, but this one in Saskatoon has to be big. It has to send a strong message. It has to have a lot of people involved. And I'm getting calls already from people outside of Saskatoon that are going to come in and join us from Prince Albert. And we're actually talking to people in Prince Albert to see if we can maybe go up there and do something, which is good because Prince Albert feels completely neglected, but at the same time, we don't see anything happening. So we're going to help them out. We're going to get them rolling. And I'm also in contact with a number of different people in the province. We're making plans for me and somebody else to go and see them. They're going to put some people together in certain places, and I'm not going to say where. And nothing. It's going to be obviously underground because that's the environment we live in now. So we have to go underground and spread the word. And Mr. Mo, rest assured that I will be spreading the word in all the small towns that I'm invited to. I'll be going to farms. I'll be going to community centers. I'll be going from one end of the province to the other if I have to. And we'll be doing it all underground. It's all going to be secret. So you can't and send your Stasi or your Nazi, your SS to come and break shit up and hand out tickets. It's going to happen, and it's happening underground. So that's where you have put us. That's what you've all done to force us to do. So we'll do it. Oh, you guys have no idea how angry I am. You have no idea how pissed off I am. I'm pissed off at the government. I'm pissed off at the cops. I'm pissed off at my fellow citizens who just want to sit on their ass and accept all of this. And then there's the ones who promote it and they're begging for more. And this has been a long fight to this point, and we knew it was coming. I'm pretty pissed, and I'm seeing other people getting pissed. And I thank God that they are, and they're speaking out. And if you guys haven't heard it, go watch Nadine Wellwood's video on YouTube. She knocked it out of the park. She was fantastic. Calling Kenny a coward, which he is. Mo, you're just as much of a coward. All the MLAs in Saskatchewan are cowards. You're all cowards. Every single last one of you, because none of you step out that party line. You'll step out to do what's actually right. You'll give a little bit of lip service to people who call you just because, you need their vote. But none of you will publicly stand up and stop this horse shit because you're cowards. You're good for absolutely nothing. Nothing. Stand up, be counted. Get a set of balls, get some courage. Do what's right. Question. Give some opposition to this. We don't have any opposition. Zero. I can prove to you that PCR is bullshit. Does anybody listen? No, because they can't. Because nobody's exposed to anything. It's one single narrative, and you guys are all complicit. Every last one of you piece of shit politicians that won't stand up and defend the people you're supposed to represent. Because you're too worried about losing your cushy little job. Get a set of balls, serve the people that you were elected to serve, and do what's right for a change. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And that goes for all of you, across Canada. We got no opposition in Parliament. We got no opposition in our legislatures, other than a few. Randy Hillier, he's a hero. A couple of more stepped up. Baber, he's a hero. There's a few more in Alberta. I'm hearing they're starting to find their balls. None in Saskatchewan, not one. Not one. Oh. And I'm supposed to, Quick Dick McDick tells me I'm supposed to thank Shahab and Mo. You know why Quick Dick says that? Because Quick Dick understands in his mind that there's only the NDP and the Sask Party. So we have to stand behind the Sask Party because we don't want the NDP to get in. That's it. That's all he thinks about. Instead of the bigger picture, instead of understanding exactly what's going on and calling these guys out for what they're doing. Grow a set of balls, Quick Dick. Think outside the politics. Talk about the kids who are getting railroaded in this mess. Think about your fellow farmers, your people in your community who are getting screwed by all of this. It's not about politics anymore. It's about doing the right thing and standing up for what's right. And what's happening around here isn't right. People are losing their livelihoods. They're losing their jobs. They've lost their jobs. They're losing their lives. They're taking their lives. Because you want to thank Mo and Shahab for the great job they've done? Bullshit. Oh. And I apologize for all the swearing, but you know what? I'm up to here. This insanity has to stop. And the only way it stops is by the people. Politicians ain't going to do it. They have no soul. All they want to do is pat themselves on the back. What a great job we've done. Bullshit. You're complicit. So, anyways, Saskatoon Convoy for Kids next weekend. For Saskatchewan. Hopefully others across the country will do the same thing. Thanks, guys. But this is kind of why I didn't go on Saturday night or last night. Because I'm glad that I did tonight, because this gave me a chance to vent a little bit and get it out. So I appreciate you guys coming around. And that's it for tonight, I think. I don't think there's anything else I had to bring up. If you guys can, if you're in a position, whatever, help those two kids out there out east. I mean, to go to jail for standing there, exercising their rights under our charter, it's sick. So if you guys can give them a hand, give them a hand. Send her an email, brittgreen35@gmail.com. Send her a message even. You know, if I know money's tight with a lot of folks, but even just, just a message of support would be helpful too. Shitty thing that to go through. Kellyanne Wolf, she was busted again, hauled away to the clink for a few hours, 12 hours, I guess, or 24 hours, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. That's it for tonight. Oh, and as far as my opening thing goes, so the copyright, they're saying they're using that so I can't monetize my page or my channel, which I haven't anyway for a long time. But But that's really it. I've had that song for over a year and nobody said anything up until the last couple of weeks. So I'm just going to keep playing it. I'm just going to keep using it. Unless I can make another one that's better. But for the time being, I'm just going to keep using it. I don't care. Anyways. We're getting arrested to fix the PAL. No. The only thing that affects the PAL is if you're charged and convicted of some sort of violent offense. Some of your offenses don't affect your PAL. Well, that's it, Roland. I mean, this is natural and genuine anger, and we should all be extremely angry watching what's happening to our fellow citizens and fellow Canadians. We should all be extremely angry, and we should be blasting them with that anger at every turn and letting them know enough's enough. Anyways, guys, thanks for putting up with me. We'll see you next time. And remember, globalism bad, nationalism good. Ciao for now.